Jeremy from Jeremy.net. I'm a comic book artist, writer, creator, self-publisher, and I share my creative process here with you online. If you'd like to support this channel, get 2 bonus live streams per month, be able to read my comic books for free online and more, you can become a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/Jeremy. That's patreon.com/GERIMI. For as little as $2 a month, you can have all access to my creative process and the inner workings of my studio. If you'd like to get a free digital sketchbook, get animated GIFs showing you my works in progress, little blog posts about what I'm reading or watching, the creative media that I'm consuming that's fueling me, you can become a subscriber to my free monthly newsletter at newsletter.jeremy.net. And if you'd like to purchase physical copies of my comic books or you read online digitally on Comixology or Kindle, you can go to amazon.jeremy.net. That'll forward you to my Amazon author page. You can pick up books like my first graphic novel, Eye of the Gods. This book is a psychological thriller. It's about a man cursed with visions he cannot control. I'm both artist and writer. Or you can pick up my most recent project, Morning Star, which tells the story of Lucifer's fall from heaven as a Western. Volume 1 contains the first 4 issues of an 8-issue series. Volume 2, recently published, has the conclusion of the story, issues 5 through 8. They also both include tons of back matter. They've got sketches, excerpts of scripts, character designs, and more. Get all of that at amazon.jeremy.net. And speaking of my Patreon, for those that are Patreon subscribers, just want to give you a reminder that this week, this upcoming Wednesday, we've got another session of Art Book Study Group. That's the twice monthly Patreon exclusive live stream we do. It's 3 hours long, sometimes much longer, depending on if we get going on certain topics. We go through some of the best art books around, dig in, and try to suck all the knowledge we can out of it. So, with that said, let's get into the live stream. Let's see here. Byron's in the chat. How you doing? Amar's here. Says Happy New Year again. What's up, dude? What's up? All right, guys. What am I doing? What am I doing? Oh, dragon painting. So, when last we spoke, I was making some progress on this guy. And even though I didn't add all of these scales in the pattern that I added it, basically, I'm kind of in the home stretch with this painting. So let me import what where I'm at right now. So let's see here. And this. So this, what we're looking at here, is the actual physical painting. I've been continuing with the process of taking photographs as I go, not just to show work in progress, but also because I'll get to certain points where I want to decide, wait, do I want to change this or that? Correcting mistakes, experimenting a little bit while it's on the canvas to save me the trouble of painting something, not liking it, and then having to go back and repaint it, paint out other parts of the painting. And this has been immensely helpful for me in terms of like being able to experiment and make decisions, well, to try out different decisions first, and then see how it goes. So this is actually, for me, I feel like it's kind of in the home stretch here. If you compare it to the images that I had shown before, the thumbnails, it actually looks fairly close to them. And just to give you guys a sense of scale, let me also, I took a selfie in front of the painting, and I'll show you that. So this is me standing in front of the painting, just so you can get a sense of how big this thing is. It's a pretty large painting. This is the largest thing I have ever painted. So, all right, let me just close my studio door because I realize it's open. Ugh. All right. So the main thing that I am trying to decide here is what I want to do with the teeth, because I've just painted them out as a silhouette to make life kind of easier on me in terms of going through and painting the rest of the dragon's head. It was just easier if these teeth are a simple solid shape for me to work around that will contrast against the mouth with the glow that's inside. But I also feel like, it doesn't give that sense of light wrapping around it. So I wanted to come back in and experiment with painting different levels of light on the teeth. So let's see here. Amar asks, how large is each panel again? Each panel is, I want to say 18 by 24, not 24 by 36. Yeah, each panel is 18 by 24. So the whole thing would be 36 wide. So it's 3 feet wide by 4 feet tall. So for 18 by 36 panels. So it's a pretty good size painting. And I will tell you, I wanted to look at some reference because I did actually have some reference before, specifically on dragon's teeth while they're breathing fire. And for some reason, I can't seem to find it. And I also need to change my brush here. Got a brush from a little experiment that I was doing previously. And I guess the real question is just how bright do I want to go? For instance, how do the teeth look? My big worry is that if I go too bright, then I lose the whole thing that I wanted, which was to have the teeth contrast and stand out from the mouth. Well, that's no good. No wonder my brush size is so large. And I will tell you that I noticed just how physically draining it is to work large. Not in the sense that it was unpleasant, but just when I'm working on a painting that's really large and I'm standing for a couple of hours at a time. That well, if you've ever done a comic convention and you've been on your feet for hours, it's kind of like that. Except for I'm moving around more and I'm very much engaged in what I'm doing. So it's fun. But I was surprised that I found myself like every hour or so needing to really sit and rest for a little bit because I was getting fatigued. Plus the fact that this painting sits kind of high up on the wall. It's not that it's a tall wall where we have it situated, but when I'm painting the upper parts of the painting, I'm standing and I'm reaching upward with the brush, and I have the brush extended. I'm kind of holding it farther back. I've got a grip high on the handle towards the end of it, which also is a challenge painting that way. I'm reminded of a trip that I took a long time ago to Spain, and I got to visit Salvador Dali's house. I mean, I took a tour of it, and he had this really cool painting set up in his studio where he had like a trench in the floor, so he could work on very large canvases. And what he would do is have them mounted on a rack that scrolled up and down. So what he would do is, when he worked on the bottom, he would wind the winch and he would crank it, and it would raise the painting up so that he could paint on the bottom. And then when he needed to work on the top, so he'd be working on like wall size paintings, he would lower it so that the painting lowers into the floor, and then at a normal standing height, he can just work on the top of the painting. And I was thinking of that when I was painting last night. I'm like, I would love that right now. So let's see. And Amar said it looked like they were 24 or 36, but 24 by 36 or 36 by 48, but that would be really large. You know what? I actually, believe it or not, I kind of, I think I have another canvas in here in the studio that's the same size. Let me look and just double check. Nope, I was completely wrong. They're bigger than I said originally. They're 22 by 28, which seems like a weird size to me. I don't even know why I got canvases that size, but yeah, they're 22. I think I got them because they were on sale. Pardon me, protein bar. It is bad form to eat while live streaming, but I'm starving. I was up late last night working on this painting. And I didn't have a chance to eat anything before starting the live stream. I just rolled out of bed, made some coffee, and hopped on. So yeah, pretty good size. 22 by 28. Let's see here. Byron says, man, gotta eat. Amar says, I used to love drawing large drawings back in the day. I miss it. I don't do it as much, I guess, because I've either been really focused on making comics or been focused on making illustrations that were, even if they weren't 11 by 17, they were designed for 11 by 17 prints. And I've recently shifted to doing stuff that's more I think I redid the sizes of my prints on my website, and I'm thinking about changing them again and just going to all of them being 12 by 18. Because the printer that I use for getting physical prints for conventions, the size is not that much different, between 11 by 17 and 12 by 18. And for all I know, the printer that I use might even do 12 by 18. But I like the idea of just having a more consistent print size. And I want to have something that, I mean, even though people they can find 11 by 17 frames fairly easily. To me, it just makes sense to make your artwork in a size that has very common print frames if I'm not selling them framed. I guess Amar, if you're selling NFTs, you don't have that problem. You're just like, it's digital. It fits. It's your phone is the frame. But I am curious if anybody else ever takes that into consideration in terms of framing or shipping for the size of their artwork, because that's another thing. I'm also, we touched on. I did that episode where I was talking about the goals for last year that I didn't reach, and then possible new goals I want to have for the future. I really didn't get as much into doing individual artwork pieces, doing standalone prints for sale, and painting more originals or drawing more originals. That was a goal last year that I think I forgot to mention, and I really didn't tackle it. And for me, it's one thing to just not achieve a goal, but if it's something that I am still interested in doing, I'm like, all right, if I didn't achieve it last year, let's try it again this year. And what can I do to make it more of a focus? I almost feel like it's easier to make one goal for the year. And if I am able to achieve that, maybe I've got one or two backup goals that I try. But I'm the type of person where instead of trying to come up with like dozens of things I want to do, it makes more sense for me to just say, all right, I'm going to go at one thing with all of my focus and all of my intensity and just put all my energy into that, because it means I'm more likely to succeed. And if I do succeed, great. Then it means I have additional bandwidth for other things. But where I was going with that was for painting original artwork. Obviously, I wouldn't paint something this large as a commission. I'm painting this because it's a gift from my wife. It's going in our house. It's already in our house, really. It's hanging in the space where it's supposed to be. I just have to remove all of the coverings on the wall around it once I'm done. But for doing either commissions or just painting originals that I want to do, for me, I'm thinking about shipping. And the fact that it really seems like the absolute largest I would want to do for an original piece would be 11 by 14, and preferably 9 by 12, because 9 by 12 is something where it's large enough that it's a decent sized piece, but it's not so large that it's going to be expensive to ship, because you go any larger than that, especially in this era where things are, there's a lot of shipping logistic issues. You go anything larger than like an 11 by 14, 11 by 17, you're starting to get into the realm where the shipping may cost as much as the painting, possibly more. And I don't think that's a great look. So even if I did want to work larger, it makes sense to me to want to do smaller pieces, because also it's not just the shipping, it's that you want to package something so that it will arrive safely without damage. Let's see here. Yeah, Byron says, I always recommend people have a main goal, and all other goals are just to support that primary one. Dude, you and I are on the same track. I feel you, brother from another mother. And Amar mentions drop shipping, or having the customer buy art from a third-party site that prints and ships it, is what I plan to do, which is probably the same thing. Yeah, drop shipping is that same thing. And I use a drop ship right now for my prints, and I do not mind giving my printer a shout out. It's a company called Printful, and I mentioned them because I am very, very happy with their service. They drop ship prints. They do t-shirts, mugs, let me put it this way, it's a much higher quality version of Zazzle, because Zazzle I think leaves a lot of a bad taste in people's mouths, because I think a lot of people were not necessarily happy with the quality of the printing for materials from Zazzle. And I compare them only in the sense that, imagine if something like that gave you the quality that you truly desired. I'm very happy with their service. The people who have bought prints from me and shirts from me have been happy with their service. Um, and also the nice thing is that they do website integration with a few different stores. So if you have like a Shopify store, if you've got an Etsy shop, you can run through there. And and that's another thing. My wife's been designing shirts for an Etsy shop that we started together, and I think I mentioned that here and there on the live stream. I am thinking about opening a separate Etsy shop just for my artwork, because the stuff I do is a little darker and edgier than the content that's on the site that we started together. And I get a couple of sales a year. And part of that is that I'm not releasing as much original artwork, or I'm not releasing as many new pieces as I really should on a regular basis. I think back to that idea of wanting to do more standalone pieces, I feel like it would be nice to have a new piece to release every month. And I mean, that's not going to happen in January, because I'm already starting off working on the dragon painting. I'm not going to have time to crank out a new piece for the end of the month, I don't think. But it would be nice to have a new illustration to release as a print every month, and then also do it as a t-shirt, and maybe have a few other ancillary items to have the artwork printed on. And were I to do that, it'd be nice to, the idea of opening an Etsy shop is simply that I sell a few pieces per year from my current store, which is integrated with Printful. But I noticed that the shop now, we definitely found a niche market that fits the type of shirts we're doing on Etsy. But we get pretty regular sales on Etsy, and I think that they promote the stores if you're putting up content that resonates with the audience. So my thinking is simply try the same thing on Etsy with my stuff, and see if I can really grow an audience on there and make more regular sales. Now, to some degree, that bothers me only in the sense that, as an indie creator, I think that all of us are kind of sensitive to the idea of building our artwork, or if we're building a website, we're not just having a Facebook page or an Instagram account or anything like that. Those things can always get shut down, and wanting to build your website home base on a site that you own the domain for. So the idea of doing a shop and getting if a majority of my sales are coming from Etsy, that could be problematic if for any reason my Etsy account ever got shut down. And I'm not saying I'd be doing any kind of outlandish stuff that would get me shut down, but it happens to people. But that said, if it's another avenue to get sales from, I'm foolish to not try to exploit it. So that's something else that I am going to be looking into the coming year. I guess these are things that are like add-ons to my existing goals. More of things that I'm thinking about. So I think while I'm spending a big chunk of this year in the writing phase for my next comic, the drawing aspect of my life is going to be focused on, along with character designs, it's going to be trying to produce more work that I can sell directly to consumers, standalone artwork. and originals. And it's funny, it's something that my wife and I have been talking about because she is definitely in favor of doing more work that resonates with pop culture. And I think that I struggle with that only in the sense that the instinctual things that I tend to draw and I'm gravitated to are kind of edgier, darker artwork. And to some degree, the people that I communicate with the most like that kind of artwork. So it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, no one's interested. People are interested in that kind of work. But she's talking about doing stuff that has more mainstream appeal, stuff that's cuter, more upbeat. And I don't know about you guys, but you've seen my artwork over the number of years. I don't know what you would think of me doing like cuter, more upbeat artwork. Maybe I could do stuff where it's like twisted, perverted versions of art of upbeat work. Unicorns like ramming people with their horns and like having them impaled on them, stuff like that. Get real metal with it. Now, see, I feel like the teeth worked when I just had the two darker tones, and now pushing it into this lighter tone is making me maybe lose a little bit of the defining shape. Like there's just too much detail, there's too much going on. Let me see. Turn this off. Well, I mean, it feels now like there's light coming from the inside, which is what I want. I'm just trying to layer on and off again, thinking about it. I'm going to paint another separate set. So I'm going to turn that layer off. I'm going to paint a whole new layer, and I'm going to paint the teeth. I'm going to do the opposite now, where I'm going to paint them mostly white and then come in with dark. Maybe give it like a coarse shadow. Just to, I don't know, just to see. Actually, if I'm going to do that, it makes more sense to start with the part that would be the whitest, which would be the outline of the teeth. Because that would be the closest to the light. And what's funny is, I mentioned I didn't take the time to look at some reference before this particular live stream, even though I've looked at reference in the past. I'm always thinking of ways to make my own physical reference when I'm looking at a piece and I need to figure out how I want the lighting to look. Lighting is the number one thing I need reference for to understand how light is wrapping around forms or how they would wrap around in real life. For those of you who haven't looked at James Gurney's imaginative realism book, that book was super inspiring and influential to me in terms of, even though I don't particularly draw with a realistic style, in terms of trying to make the fantastical look as though it's real. I mean, I think that I'm more of a cartoony / illustrative artist. But that said, having something that lends itself to looking convincingly real when it's a fantasy piece of artwork is an extremely powerful technique. And I remember in reading through James Gurney's book, he has multiple places there where he shows himself, where he shows examples of him building physical models of cities, making many times he'll make a little maquette, like a little bust or a little clay sculpt of a creature that he's going to be painting. And sometimes it's not even like a dragon or a fantastic city or a vehicle or something. Sometimes it's him getting reference from a paleontologist, and he's doing National Geographics or scientific illustrations for magazines, and he's making a model of a dinosaur that we have never seen before because it's long extinct. But based on the bones and information he's getting from scientists, they give him all of the description of what they think the dinosaur may have looked like, and then it's up to him to bring his imagination to it, to really make those things feel as though they are real and walking around. So, you know, using his skill for fantastic realism, imaginative realism, as his book is titled, using that skill for the sake of science. But I think I really learned a lot from just seeing him making physical models of things, and I've taken to doing that occasionally. And I didn't plan on doing it. I don't think I will, because, you know, really, I think I can probably work out these teeth, although I may live to eat those words. But I thought about the teeth, eat those words. I love a good pun. That wasn't intentional. Man, my ass is corny. Anyway, but I thought about the idea of making a row of teeth out of some Sculpey clay, and then putting a light bulb, almost like making a jaw, and then putting the light bulb inside of the jaw, so I could see how the teeth would be lit from the inside. Because I wanted to kind of catch that feeling of, you know, the overall look I was going for with the dragon's teeth was, what does it look like right before the dragon starts breathing fire? So, you know, there's like a hot glow going on in the center of the mouth. And you know what is weird is that even though it's a very graphic look, this outlining the teeth in white is resonating with me, which I guess is the reason why I wanted to try it and see how it looked. Because I'm going to come in and go and give it a second pass of a light color before it goes to that core shadow that is the full burnt sienna. That is the shape of the teeth. I want to come in there and give it a pass with another color. Or actually, you know what? Instead of giving it a pass with another color, maybe I should just. Nah, because I think that if I go in there, I considered smudging it, just using the smudge tool. But I'm trying to get out of that habit of keeping colors in just white and then gradients of white. Like if I'm doing something, you know, this is white because it's supposed to be really, you know, hot and light. But then anything that's slightly darker, instead of doing it in white, it feels like it, you know, I've just noticed in terms of painting, it works better if I use a color that is light, as opposed to just using white mixed with whatever the the local color is. And I will tell you, I think I mentioned this last week, but doing this painting has definitely tested my patience. Not in the sense that I didn't want to work on this painting, but more in the sense that every time you make a step and you have the painting we're moving a little bit closer towards what your goal is, I feel a strong desire to just want to like rush to finish. And I think a lot of artists get that. And I think that that has probably been, I know this goes right back to the perfectionism thing. I almost feel like perfectionism should be in the title of my YouTube channel because it comes up so much. But that idea of rushing forward when a piece is not fully baked yet, this piece has forced me to at every stage to work on it for a little bit, stop, look at it, evaluate, assess, revise, and then come back and paint more. I think that's just because if I just kept rushing forward, I would blow right past the part of the painting that's working and is good and get into like some ugly places. And there are a few places on here already that I've gone back and repainted, had to paint out and you know, revise, adjust, get rid of some details that I thought were supposed to be there, rethink elements. Interesting. Feels like it looks better on the left side, but not so much on the right. Maybe there needs to be more. Well, I mean, that visually makes sense on the side that on the side that you'd be looking at, that's, you know, the teeth on the right side of the mouth are going to be facing the light source. So it just makes sense. In fact, that's it. That's how I messed up. I realized I've got this core shadow on the right side. That core shadow works because that's the side that we're seeing that's the darkest is the side that's facing away from the light. And on the inside, it's going to be the opposite. And that is what I was doing wrong with the teeth. And, you know, this is the reason why I specifically do these studies, or why I go through and I'll paint this out digitally first to try and work it out. Because now that I see it, it's blindingly obvious, and I feel like an idiot for not doing it. But I needed to paint it here digitally in order to understand that. I mean, and to put it simply, there's a little, let me turn, I turn this light off and I turn off my ring light. I'm just doing this for other viewers, because I think that anybody who's watching live, I know you, Amar and Byron, you guys know enough about light and painting that this makes sense for you guys. But for anybody else, turn off the ring light here. All right, so on one side, you've got, you're looking at a tooth and the light is coming from the inside. So like this tooth would be the tooth that's on the right side of the dragon's mouth. So the mouth is over here open and it's creating kind of a glow. So you've got light on this side. Meanwhile, the teeth on the left side, the light is still, the mouth is over on the other side. So there's a shadow being cast. So that's why it has that dark core shadow. So I just realized the problem is I'm trying to light both teeth as if they're both on the same side of the light source, when one set of teeth, the left side of the teeth are on one side of the light source, the right side of the teeth are on the other side of the light source. It's common sense. And I look at this and I'm like, why was I making such a stupid mistake? It's like one of those when you accidentally paint two left hands on a figure, you put the thumb on the wrong side, and you're like, why did I do that? I don't know why I was thinking about this, but it would have been really a pain in the ass if I had painted this on the canvas without thinking it out first. And even more so if I had painted it out on the canvas and I still didn't figure out why it was wrong. I just wanted to look at it, I'm like, it looks wrong. I don't know why. And I mean, again, this is something that if I had painted a maquette of a dragon, I would have seen this, but I don't think I would have internalized it. Meaning, I would have seen this mistake, or I would have seen the lighting and I would have just copied the lighting, but I don't think I would have necessarily copied it with the understanding of why one is correct and the other is wrong. I just would have copied the lighting and moved on with the painting, which, it depends. To some degree, it doesn't really matter. Like if you get the results, the painting looks right, do you really care if you understand every single thing about the physics of light and why something is lit the way it is? Maybe you don't care. I kind of care because I'm kind of nerdy that way. And because I want the ability to draw and paint things out of my imagination, as opposed to needing reference for everything. And I feel like that's why the understanding to me about what the light is doing, that's why it's important. But I can see an artist who just does not care. And I don't mean that to belittle someone who's just painting straight ahead, but they're just like, let me find the reference, let me paint it the way it should probably be lit, and let me just move on to the next piece. Sometimes I wish I were more like that, when it's really just a matter of what's the efficiency, what's going to get the piece done. But my innate personal curiosity makes me want to understand why light works the way it does, how to properly light something if I'm drawing it myself, as opposed to drawing it for reference. I'm always drawing it myself, but you know what I mean? Either looking at an illustration that has a similar lighting scheme, or, as I mentioned with the James Gurney book, building a maquette of some sort. It's funny. I was afraid of boring you guys, which I might be, with just painting teeth this live stream, but it's like, this is what I'm working on. But I am already surprised that we've gone 45 minutes of me painting teeth. Like, it feels like this session has flown by. I actually thought that I was going to come in, paint the teeth real quick, and be done. And now I'm coming in here, learning a little bit more about light. Now the inner teeth really jump out more than I want them to, but they feel like the lighting is more consistent. And I just need to come in here with a darker color. maybe I need to come in here with a lighter color. I don't know. Now, if I come in with a lighter color, I'm afraid it's going to blend too much. Let me compare it to that other set of teeth I did. Well, I'm curious how this would look if I corrected the that core lighting issue on that one. I'll come back and take a look at it. But hmm, hmm. Well, I mean that's the whole point of going digital is that I have the advantage of trying multiple things. Let's go a little bit lighter with this light. Let me undo. Whoops. Just undo some of these brush strokes. And let's go with a, see how this looks. Slightly darker than that. Let's see here. I appreciate that. Byron says, I'm not bored at all. This is a very relaxing stream. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I wonder. I mean, are there live streams that are stressful? Like you're watching it, you're like, oh my god, I'm so tense. You know, are they doing like crazy dramatic stuff? I mean, I guess when I do listen to other artists' live streams, they're kind of it's more along the lines of what I'm doing, where I'm just watching people work and listening to them talking about their process, or I'm just listening to interviews. And I can't imagine somebody doing like a dramatic art live stream. Hmm. You know what? Much in the same way that I do like dozens upon dozens of thumbnails, I'm probably going to do one more version of the teeth where the core shadow is going to be this lighter brown that I'm using right now, so that the teeth feel even whiter. Because I do like the shadow and the effect that it's giving me, but it also gives the effect that the teeth themselves are rather brown. And it's not like this is a dragon that brushes his teeth or anything, but I am curious what it would look like if the teeth really felt like white, like pearly white daggers staring at you. Yeah. Just wanted to check it out, see how it looks. And I keep beating a dead horse, but that's the beauty of this method of going working traditional, then coming back, analyzing what I did digitally, then going back to the canvas and making edits. And I can sit here and do 3 different versions and decide what I want to like before decide what I like before going back in and painting the final. Let's see here. Byron says some live streams can be very high energy and intensive, lots of interactions, questions flying all over the place, the artist having to juggle viewers and the art. I said this is more of a listen while I work on my stuff kind of stream. Yeah, that's definitely the vibe I go for. I think the more high energy live streams, usually the artists I think have mods on them or admins, people to field conversation questions while they're going, while they're doing something, or maybe they've got guests and the mods can field what's going on in terms of the audience interaction while the host is attending to the guest. Well, let's say you've got a slideshow of like multiple images for different topics, that sort of thing. And those can be fun too. Yeah. But it's like I say, the vibe I'm going for is more sort of like we're all just kind of hanging out in our studios, working on our collective works, talking shop, talking about whatever we're working on. And speaking of talking about what we're working on, I'm thinking that if in the coming year, I'm really focused on trying the illustration side of doing standalone pieces. While I definitely think I'm going to get a lot of writing done, I don't know how far I'm going to get on drawing my the new comic I want to do. So it'll be interesting. And of course, the conversation that we had throughout last year of me finding a looser style, a less polished style, a less labored style. And I don't think that I am a particularly polished artist, but I do think that I labor over my work. I perhaps overwork things. Let's see here. Yeah, Doghouse is in the chat. So same here, Byron. Thanks for rolling in, Doghouse. I hope that all of you are are off to a creative start in the new year, and that you at least have something on your desks, on your tablets, on your computers, on your drawing tables, on your canvases that is entertaining and inspiring to work on. All right. So looking at this from the way back, I think this actually may work. I don't think I really need to go in and do another version of this where it's closer to white. I actually think because now, I mean, this is tiny. Let me zoom it just to the screen because for you guys, that's small. But for me, sitting on my monitor, in order for me to properly judge it, I shrink it down to probably like this size, which is like microscopic for you guys, especially if you're watching on a phone. But I look at it really small and try to see how the piece reads if I were looking at it from across the room. Because if it reads tiny, then it'll read large. Let's see. We are almost at an hour. Doghouse says it's been hard to join lately, but but today I was able to. Well, I appreciate you making time and being able to fit fit in a little hang time. I hope that your schedule hasn't been too crammed and you haven't been able to enjoy some personal creative time. That happens to all of us as sometimes when life just takes priority to the outer life of the real world takes priority to the creative inner life that we all have. And it's frustrating when that happens. It's frustrating for me as well. But you know, you do what you got to do, and then get back to the creativity when you can. All right, I think what I'm gonna do here at the end is I'm actually pretty happy with how these teeth look. You know what? I tell myself that, and then I look at it and I'm like, am I? Am I happy with this? Let's see here. Oh, King Lowe's Fitness is in the chat. Thanks for rolling in. I said, yeah, like a thumbnail, having the piece small. It says, got back on track on missing time just as I came in. Well, thank you for joining us. Yeah, so this painting is in its final phases. Oh, and for some people who didn't who weren't here in the beginning, I've got another photo in this layer just so you can see for scale. That's how big this painting is. So somewhere, I guess maybe around 4 feet by 6 feet. It's not quite 6 feet. It's got to be shorter than that. But still, it's pretty big, like 3.5 by 5, I think. Anyways, I've just been going back and forth where taking work in progress shots and then adding bits of detail to kind of make sure that I'm on the right track with what I'm doing. Let me duplicate this layer and just see what happens if I go lighter. So I'm going to go a little bit lighter with the teeth. And then I'm going to go back to the first one I did. And I'm going to correct the lighting on the teeth on the right side. You know, I do wonder, when I was painting and I first started painting these teeth, and I was painting painting the teeth on the right side of the jaw, and I was painting them with the light source on the wrong side. Were any of you watching and being like, dude, it's on the wrong side, but you were just like too polite and you didn't want to jump in and say anything? Because sometimes I think that the one thing is that I definitely am not afraid of making an ass of myself in public, because I definitely have painted stuff or drawn stuff online live and been like, oh wait, that's completely wrong. And my bigger concern is not about looking stupid. It's just about showing something and having an almost instructional feel, and then giving somebody a bad idea that they go forward within their work, and then I'm making someone else's artwork worse. But anytime you guys see something, you're like, dude, I see what you're doing wrong here. I definitely appreciate it when someone calls it out and can save me time, because I mean, you know, I've mentioned many times, I never come at this like I am the expert. I am always learning and growing and experimenting and figuring stuff out. So I mean, I can be. My wife will tell you that I'm stubborn and stubborn ass, and anytime someone contradicts me, I get butthurt about it, and she might be right about that. But but I think in my older age, I'm getting better about letting go of my ego and just listening to people and saying, okay, I hear what you're saying. Let me try that. I mean, the lesson was a lot more powerful because I figured it out on my own. But I also think that in life, if you can learn from other people's mistakes as opposed to having to make them yourself, you can evolve quicker. Let's see. King of Fitness said, you mentioned the teeth. He says, in perspective, it seems too straight. I guess 0 degrees in terms of slight angle, if you know what I mean. Oh, I tried them at a couple of different angles, and this one seemed to be the one that fit the best. Like when I had thumbnails, I intentionally drew some teeth. Like I tried drawing this where the teeth were angled, the top one's down, the bottom one's up like this, but they didn't seem to fit with how wide I had the jaw open. Um, but again, like I just said, I may come back and I've got this digitally. I can come back and take all of the teeth and just change the angles on them and see how they look. So I'll after I finish doing the repainting of the teeth, I'll give that a try and see how that looks. That I'm probably not going to do in the live stream because we're getting close to wrapping up here. But again, good suggestion. Thank you. I will tell you that the teeth, I definitely don't think I did a great job with the teeth, only in that painting this large, I didn't have quite the control that I wanted. And it was difficult for me to get the acrylic to make the shape of the teeth that I wanted. In order to get the paint to be really fluid, I had to use more medium, and the more medium I used, the more transparent it was. So it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be as opaque for me to paint the shape and color that I wanted. So it's kind of a double-edged sword because I needed it to be fluid enough that I could shape it with the brush the way I wanted to, yet opaque enough to give me a dark coverage and give me and really block in that color. And let's see. King of Fitness says the back teeth of the jaw should be smaller for when a dragon closes its mouth. You know what? That is a good point. Guess I'm gonna have to go back in there and repaint those back teeth. My shit, I should have checked with you when I was in my thumbnail stage. So I guess at this point, I really have to ask myself just how much contrast I want. In the teeth, because tooth size notwithstanding, those teeth now feel more like whiter or lighter colored teeth. I don't know if they pop necessarily. The teeth definitely feel darker like this. That additional level of contrast. But I'm wondering whether they pop too much. And this is how I end up making dozens and dozens of thumbnails. As I compare this and the lighting looks good, but there's a little too much contrast. I look at this and there's not quite enough. And then I realize, all right, what happens if I go back to this, but then just do it where instead of that burnt umber core of the teeth, instead of it being as dark as it is, to go just slightly lighter, just a little bit lighter. And then there's going back to this one and then just saying, all right, what happens if I correct the lighting on this? So coming in here and whoops, let me go to this. All right. So let me just come in here and try this. And I think after this, we'll wrap up this this session. So if anybody has any last final questions, final thoughts, feel free to throw that out there and let me know what you think. Okay, now we're getting into that realm of different, but not better or worse. I'm zooming out to kind of look at it and see what I think. But to be honest, I think for this phase I'm getting into now, where I'm really evaluating the piece, that I don't think I can do during live stream because I need to just sit, be quiet, and look at it and think about what I really like. But you know, the options that I'm running at now are this darker set of teeth, but with the lighting corrected. This more high contrast set of teeth. And then the same idea, but then also with sort of a lighter base tooth color. Which my problem with this one is just that it feels like it blends too much with the colors inside the mouth, and we lose it a little bit. So those are the options I'm looking at, and I'm going to come back to this one and maybe try a slightly darker, a slightly lighter version for the. Actually, no, I guess really it would be this one, but slightly darker. So we'll see. I'm still playing with it. I'm going to play around. I'm going to do, like I said, I need to just sit and look at it and evaluate. And that's not something that is interesting for a live stream because then you're not even hearing me talking in the background. It's just me staring at a screen, flipping layers on and off and looking. But the pondering phase, I think for me is how I, generally speaking, it's not that I don't think an artist shouldn't follow their instincts. I believe that we very much should follow our instincts. But when my instincts say I don't know, then for me the answer is, well, sit, think, ponder, look at some options. Don't rush it. All right. So that is that brings us to the end here of another live stream. Thank you everyone for hanging out and watching and all the great comments. Definitely, if I don't say it enough, please like the videos. If there's anyone that you think would enjoy these videos, please share them, spread the word. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, do all that. As we love to say on the internet, smash that subscribe button, smash that notification bell. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for hanging out. Again, for Patreon subscribers, this week we've got Art Book Study Group Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The sessions are archived so that you can watch past videos. I've got probably 50 plus videos now, 2 to 3 hours long. Some are 4 or 5 hours, where we sit down, go through some of the best art books around, suck all the knowledge out that we can get out of it. Do that twice a month. If you guys want to get in on that for as little as $2 a month, get it on over to Patreon and become a Patreon subscriber. It's patreon.com/Jeremy, patreon.com/GERIMI. And there are links to the Patreon channel in the description of the video. So hit that up, check that out. If you'd like to get a free digital sketchbook, get work in progress animated GIFs delivered to your inbox, little insights in my creative process. I write little blog posts. You can put all of that. You get that once a month, delivered straight to your email inbox by signing up for my free newsletter at newsletter.jeremy.net. And if you'd like to purchase physical copies of my comics, if you read digitally on Kindle or Comixology, you can go to amazon.jeremy.net. They'll forward you to my Amazon author page. You can pick up books like my first graphic novel, Eye of the Gods. This book is a self-contained story. It's a psychological thriller about a man cursed with visions he cannot control. You can also pick up my most recent comic book series, Morning Star. It tells the story of Lucifer's fall from heaven as a Western. Volume 1 contains the first 4 issues, issues 1 through 4. Volume 2 contains the conclusion, issues 5 through 8. Both books have tons of back matter. They have sketches, character designs, thumbnails, script excerpts. It shows you all of how I put this book together, even some of my photo reference in there. There are also flip-throughs of the books on the on my channel. If you go to the channel homepage, you'll find there's flip-throughs of each of these books. You can see nice and big on your screen, get a look at all the artwork inside and the comic pages. So definitely please check that out. If it's interesting to you, pick up a copy. I'd greatly appreciate it. If there's somebody else that you think would enjoy, send it over their way to check it out. Okay, everybody, thanks so much. Thanks for hanging out. That's it for now. Go be creative.